Hey friends, TUXX here. I want to talk a little bit on this video about the NW-A306 Sony Walkman player I've been reviewing quite a bit, and a problem I encountered now having it for, over a month now, which is shocking, man. I've been loving this player. It's been doing great, but I have ran into one problem that I didn't encounter in the first, week or a couple weeks is the fact of memory, okay? And there was a few comments about this too saying, oh, well, 32 gigs, it really isn't enough, And at the time, it kind of was. Like, I really wasn't running into problems having a good amount of assortment of, MP3s or, music files, if you will, on here. And they're all FLAC. I wasn't using, like, small compressed music files, but they were good size. Sorry, my dove is cooing back there. So they take up space, But what I found was I started going, see the white screen here? Okay, so this is a DSF file, and they take up a lot of room, okay? And I was downloading some whole albums in this format, and the problem is that was actually eating up a lot of the memory, So it was a situation where I was running out of space, and actually I did get a message saying I was running out of space, and I was having to delete songs to add more songs. So the time did come finally to add extra memory, okay? So what I bought was this Amazon Basics memory card. Nothing too fancy, but it was a good speed, and everything seemed good. I will have a link to this product right below, as well as a link for the Sony player. But I wanted to add something, and this is a 512 gig card, okay? So I wanted to start with kind of a medium-sized card and try and see if that would actually help solve the problem. Now, sometimes with some players, when you add a card, it creates a lot of issues with slowdown or lag or whatever. I did not experience that with this Amazon card. So actually, it's a really good value card of a very good speed as well. So it didn't affect performance at all. So I was really happy about that. It was very easy to install. Basically, here on the bottom of the player, there's just a little thing. You just pop this open. Hopefully I can do my fingernail here. There we go, and the card just goes right in there. I'm not going to pull out the card, but you see that little black thing in there? That is the card, and you just push it shut just like that, and you're good to go. Now, as far as actually installing, it installed very quickly on its own. It really wasn't a big thing to install it, and there's been a much debate over, do you have to have a file called music, and blah, 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 or can you just drop files right onto it, that kind of thing, because I did encounter a problem in one of my past videos where I do have some flash cards, memory cards, with like my entire music collection, my high-res music collection on it, which I will take from one player to another player. Sometimes I'll pop it in F20 or some other player, and I wanted to see if it would just pop right in, and unfortunately it didn't, and that shocked me a little, the fact that it seemed like it did not want to play. It was just like, it didn't register it. It didn't force me to like format it, but it just didn't see anything on the card. And the only option was reformat the card, which of course would lose all the music I had on there. Now, although I do have a few of these flash drives with my FLAC high-res music collection on it, I didn't want to really reformat. I didn't want to go that type of trouble. So I just bought a brand new memory card for the Sony, and I plugged it in. Now, I do want to show you here. I'm going to switch view to the computer, and I want to show you what that file looks like, just to end this debate about does it have to say music or not music or whatever. So let's go to the computer. Okay, so I went ahead and I hooked up the NW-A306 via USB-C to the computer, okay? Upon doing that, it will say, do you want to use it for battery charging or file transfer? I selected file transfer, and this is what appears here on the screen. And you can see kind of like right here, I'm going to move the little cursor, we have Walkman here, okay? So you just click on Walkman, okay, which is right there. Hopefully you can see, okay, Walkman. We're going to click on that down. And then here you can see now it actually has internal storage. Let me pull this up here a little. Internal storage and SD card. Okay, so it does separate the two, internal storage and SD card. And now I did not personally format this card. I just stuck it in, kind of booted it up, and it actually seemed to add some folders to it on its own. At no point did the thing say, do you wish to reformat this card? This is just kind of what was on it, okay? So I believe this is made by Sony. I may test this further down the road, but you can see there's a lot of things in here which look like Sony-related, Walkman-related things like alarms, audiobooks, documents, movies, notifications, and if you go under music here, you'll see just only these DSF files. So I want to make sure it was real clear that I wasn't actually looking at the onboard storage, but actually the actual memory card in the Sony NW-A306. Okay, so this is what is presented. Now I did drag and drop I dragged and dropped music files into there so you can kind of see what that looks like. And those are DSF files. So you can see just one of these do take up a lot of space. In fact, let's take a look at Dire Straits. Well, actually, that's not a full album. I didn't actually record or download the full album for a lot of these. But let's take a look here at one of them. Let's see. Let's say the U2 one here. We'll look at properties. Okay, so that DSF file is about 5.85 gigs. Okay, so 5.85 gigs for that one. So you can see how that really could take up a lot of space. If the total memory of the actual Sony unit is 32 gigs, if one album on a DSF file takes up, you know, almost 6 gigs, that's a pretty big chunk. So you really do use those 32 gigs quickly when you start going into the higher, you know, memory size files for audio, you know, and you probably want to do that. Having this player to take full advantage of the great sound, you really want to try and have the highest quality MP3s possible. Remember, there's 3 pieces of the puzzle here. There is, you know, the actual source material, the software, the memory file, music. There's the hardware, the Sony NW-A306, and then the third part of the puzzle is the headphones you're listening on. Okay, so those are 3 things you have to keep in check to get the best quality sound. But you can see how that really does take up a lot of space there, almost 6 gigs. And if I go under the SD card here, under properties, let's take a look. And just with those files there, that is about 18.3 gigs. Okay, so this as DSF files would pretty much take up the whole space of the actual Sony player, if with no other music files, no FLAC files, nothing added, you know. And again, I'm only using this player for music. I'm not using it really for audiobooks or for like photos or videos or extra apps or whatever, even though you could add apps if you want, because again, you do have full access to the Google Play Store. Now, one thing I have noticed is that when you unplug this from the actual computer, it does quickly say like creating database. So it seems like it's programmed where when you have it in file transfer mode and you unplug it, it creates a database when that unplug happens. So I think that's when it created those file folders, which again, I did not create those file folders myself. The machine did it itself. So pretty cool stuff. A great little player. I would recommend getting the memory though, because you'll find that 32 gigs or even 64 gigs is going to fill up pretty darn fast. So actually, you probably can go bigger than this. But again, right now I'm testing a 512. You could say, well, why don't you put like a 2 terabyte card in there? But one thing I've discovered is in some players, like my car, for example, and that's a C7 Corvette, it's a situation where more memory space requires more searching, and it creates just a little bit of slowdown. So I wanted something a little bit smaller, and 512 is still pretty darn big. It's half a gig, you know, but I wanted to make sure that there was enough speed involved where I don't feel like I'm like having to like slow down looking for music. You know, I want it to be nice and speedy, and this particular memory card here is definitely speedy, so it's definitely worth checking out. You can see the full specs for this video card and this memory card actually in the link down below. So again, click it and add some music to your player. This is a fantastic little player. Again, I'm still loving it, man, and you really got to check out those wonderful DSF files, because the separation, I mean, of instruments sounds just amazing. For me personally, I'm not super into like the Beatles or whatever, but listening to some of these artists, which I don't normally listen to, in HD with amazing separation is just such an experience. Like, it really gives me a little new sense of I don't know what's the word I'm looking for here. Like, I have deep respect for the artists, because there's a lot of cool little touches in some of those songs which I've never heard before, you know. Again, the Beatles is an example. I don't like the Beatles particularly. They're okay, I respect them, but listening to it in HD on a DSF file, you hear every little breakdown of every, you know, different little instrument, and even little things with the drum. At one point I heard cowbell on a song. I was like, whoa, cowbell. Like, I never knew that was in this Beatles song, you know. So anyway, it's worth checking out, okay? If you have any questions, I will definitely have some more videos about this player coming up, and I'm definitely happy to help you guys out. But fantastic little player, still recommend it. But the one ad I'm gonna make is a little memory card is something you do definitely want. And again, I'll have a link for the one I'm using right below in the description, okay? All right, friends, thanks for watching this video. Really appreciate it. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.